they have pushed that off till tomorrow. But just a quick update on the 22nd of February, or a month and a day ago, we closed that road and began demolition of the bridge. Setting the beams tomorrow is a major milestone in the progress there, and we're right on schedule. You know, we're seeing that speeding up of the rebuilding process with the single span feature of this bridge. You know, the bigger bridges, of course, with piers in the stream, like the Nottoway or the Nishnabotna, you know, you have to excavate the cofferdam to get down to the footing, and you likely pound the 30 pile in the bottom of the footing and place the footing and stem and pier cap, and all those processes are not needed on a single span bridge. So where a single span will fit and is appropriate for the headroom, they certainly speed construction. I did hand out a spreadsheet of reimbursements. This is a spreadsheet of reimbursements from the EWP work done last year and finished up this year. So we now have received the money that the Hungry Canyons Alliance owes, and all the monies spent have been reimbursed, or we've received all the revenue we can anticipate for this project. $3,830,000, $694.28. So that's money back into Page County. Of course, it was spent on the projects. I do have an agenda item, signing of the local rock contract with that extra funding. Anticipate a 8 April letting, so we'll advertise it this week. Send it out to construction firms that produce aggregate that we know are in this area. Now, I don't know how much competition we'll really have, but we'll at least send out some plans. I'm also working on a rebid for the local pipe that was let out for bid last fall and received no bids. We got a little correction on that to be done on the coin pipe. So according to the folks at Silver, they are the crushers in at Braddyville, and they're crushing rock. So that'll be a benefit. I expect they'll have enough in the pile to be hauled next week. Okay, great. And although it's raining today and yesterday, I did have a conversation with some residents out on D Avenue about dust and washboards and the lack of a hard surface there. It was a cordial conversation, and they're interested to know what other dust control techniques that the county can use instead of their usual chloride. You know, they brought up the possibility of beet juice, dust suppressant, or the product Gorilla Snot, which is also used by the military to suppress dust around airfields and airstrips in austere environments. So just a conversation.
So no decisions were made, or what are the next steps?
No, we're gonna, you know, as the summer, as the dust, we have a dust abate program coming up for proffering to the board, you know, soliciting or approving a couple of vendors to provide dust control services as that. I mean, they're not gonna use those. They would like to have us to suggest or try something else. They're not averse to spending some money on materials that work.
Did we strike out with the gorilla guts or
3
what?
years ago, or maybe a little bit longer, we looked at the Gorilla Snot company. We talked to them out in, I think it was Arizona maybe, and they had somebody that was doing a test market up in Sioux City. We never could get any results from that, and it was rather pricey. And at that time, I talked to the original owner out there, and I said it's going to be something that if you're interested in talking to them and bringing it in, we can maybe help get it dispersed through our spray system at that time. But they never did go any farther with it. So it was very, very expensive. I can't remember the cost now, and I'm sure it's all changed since.
Sure. And we never did get any results on the effect.
Correct, we never tried anything,
And
different. We didn't try different from the usual chlorides.
And what I remember complicates that situation is that was hard surface when we grounded up. The base material has not reacted well to the
Correct.
normal
The-
dust mitigation.
The asphalt coated particles, I guess, don't adhere, or the dust control that we conventionally use doesn't work well under those conditions.
Okay, well, keep us posted.
Right,
You know,
we'll continue to work on that. I did talk about the other places we had reverted seal coat and the schedule, or the lack of schedule we have for replacing those based on other considerations, and where they perhaps fit in the ADT count, where they are higher than some in some routes. And they reminded me that similar to our situation in the southeast, where there's a couple miles to a potential connection with the pavement, north into Montgomery County, a mile is where the Colbert Road runs east and west. The pavement runs east and west, just north of there. So in Montgomery County, of course,
right.
requiring some work by the neighboring county, but a connection which intrigues the engineer type.
Okay.
Questions for me?
Any questions, Alan, Jacob? For the record, I've been communicating electronically with Tom Wagner this week again, and he was still not satisfied with our answers regarding the Stanton Road and what he claims to be a lot of wasted material in the ditch. We viewed some pictures here. I've sent out, I think, one of the communications to my colleagues here. Did anybody get a chance to go look at it or communicate with Tom? Jacob or Alan?
I tried to go look at the edge. It reminded me a lot of what was on J64 last year. It was really deep down there. No, it wasn't as deep as that in places, but it was kind of similar to that in places. What was going on down there?
When was that? Was that last August that or was it July? I'm not quite sure.
I'd have to go back in my photography record. It was last.
Yeah, I think it was middle of summer when we did that. And I know at the time, his concern was the grade in some areas. We did an 11-mile
I
stretch.
think it was 2019.
Huh?
I think it was 2019.
Was it 2019 already? Okay, well, time is, yeah.
On the Stanton Road.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, no, because
we had there was a little snow and cooled water early in the year.
yeah, I guess I'm not a good one for remembering dates. I'd need to look at a date. I remember it being summertime and being COVID time, because I went out and inspected to tell the guys they did a good job, and one of your employees took offense that I came within 6 feet, didn't have a mask on. So I think it was sometime during COVID in 2020, but it doesn't matter. The work needed to be done, and I think the concern that Tom shared was that the shoulder width was wider than he thought it should be, and that in some places, he was finding the grade to not fit what his spec of 4% should be, and maybe 4%. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. Now he's concerned that with the blading operations that we've wasted a lot of gravel, and there is some gravel in the ditch, there's no doubt about it. However, what we did corrected in my view, a much larger problem with regard to liability, because the edge rut was horrible.
And a few tons of rock in the ditch.
But
What is the correct grade?
4%.
Is 4% right? I'm curious.
So,
But now, you know, we're getting to that time of the year with the wings off and the retrievers on, we'll be able to, even with blades, work on that edge rut.
okay,
But we did want to wait and not disturb it not disturb what was there while the possibility existed of another snow. And I think we're probably far along enough, although there's been snows in April.
Anything can happen. But yeah.
you never know, but certainly by April, we should be out of this snow.
Right, and, you know, we'll tell the guys, should it, you know, snow again, just, you don't have to clear the shoulder off, just put the windrow on the shoulder.
Okay,
Because it won't be around
Right.
for a couple days.
okay. So that's all that I had. Jacob, do you have anything?
What width should that be up there? You're talking about width. What is the width we'd be shooting for?
There are various widths. We put the rock down a little bit wider than normal, so we wouldn't have to haul in. That was a borrowed piece of equipment from Mills County, a very good piece of equipment. I anticipate it borrowing again on a different road, but there'll be material there to pull back up against the slab the way we did it. You know, it's a little thicker than the 4% would indicate. Okay, there's an agenda item to approve or just to sign the title sheet. So I need some action by the board to take that.
Pardon me, where's that at?
Do you have
It's in my tube here,
Oh.
sheltered from the rain.
This is to spend the money on additional emergency rock hauls. It was a code from the COVID dollars, and you got the amount of 200.
Oh, we talked about last week.
Yeah, we talked about last
Yeah.
week. What was, you off the top of your head remember that amount from last week? I guess it's in the minutes here.
250,000 or something, or 230,000?
$230,000. And do you guys, have you spent some time kind of looking at where, you prioritize where you're gonna dump that?
I told my maintenance superintendent, Jeff Sherlock, that he had so many miles, and he picked them out on the map.
Okay, great. Would there be any value in either publishing the map, sending it to the media, or, because that might be more efficient than contacting all those landowners who, because it's not gonna happen tomorrow. You got a bid, you know, you got the April bid letting, and it'll take some time. And the people who are suffering with those spots might appreciate knowing that they're on the list. Those that aren't on the list might not appreciate the list, but we've only got so many dollars
We could put it on,
on our website.
I think Corey could put it up on the website.
I'd suggest that you give some thought to that, JD. I think communication is always good.
I'll make a motion to approve the signing and title sheet for project LCO 73.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Armstrong and a second by Holmes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously.
We all three sign it.
Yes.
What is today? 3/23.
According to the DOT, this money should arrive with the road use tax money in April. So I've advised the treasurer of that.
By April, okay. We're handling a lot of dough these days, Andy.
Just in and out, that's all.
Yeah, I know, in and out. All right, very good. Well, thank you, JD.
Thank you.
All right, Angie, we're 2 minutes late, sorry. Morning.
Good morning. You all have the depository resolution?
Yes. Yes.
So mine's really just a formality to make sure that my maximum balance allowed through our depository resolution can cover all of the incoming funds we're going to be receiving. So just a change in those.
Is there any education you want to do for the public on how these resolutions work, or anything you'd like to add? Or, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. I will, on another note, other than the money we're receiving through the stimulus and COVID money, I've increased one of our balances due to the increase of online payments. Generally, our other bank accounts saw the majority of our balance because we would deposit our daily checks, but now more people are paying online. So, you know, I increased a different account due to that increase in online payments.
Okay, excellent. Any questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the depository resolution number 22-2021.
I'll second that.
Does anybody need the resolution read?
Nope, I got it right here. Does anybody want it?
All right, we have a motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Okay, we've got a little bit of time before our 9 o'clock item, so can we take a look at claims, please? Okay. No claims today to look at? Long arm, Alan Armstrong.
Here, that goes over to Jacob.
Okay.
There you go.
Open some mail here.
Yeah, open some mail.
Hmm. That needs passed over to Jacob, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, we've got just a few minutes. I don't think JD is listening, but I discovered through a family member an app for your phone that is pretty amazing if you're out in the country and you don't have your plat book. It's called Land Glide.
Land Glide.
Glide. And basically, whenever you open it up, it shows your GPS location, and then you have access to all the properties. You touch it, and it tells you who owns that.
Land what?
Land Glide.
Glide.
And I don't know, it will link back to our beacon. and give you all the tax information. It is a handy app. I don't know how many of you guys have been out and you're, didn't bring your plat book and you see something that needs attention, you well wonder who owns that. I would, it's a great app, man. I'll check with Schneider to see if they have a free one. This one is a $99 app annually, but it's unbelievable. But you guys might want to experiment with it. You've got a 7-day trial on it.
Okay, thank you.
Jacob, which two kids are these so I can give them in a minute?
Jack and Will.
Jack and Will.
And Will. Yeah, Will.
Will I Am.
Will,
Does anybody call you Will I Am?
he's got his pliers, so he's ready.
Melissa, at 9 o'clock, are you coming down here to visit? Or are you gonna stay up there? Okay. Huh? Okay. Pardon me? No. All right, it is 9 o'clock, and on the agenda, discuss and approve continuation of county policy for 12 p.m. Friday cutoff for agenda items. We tackled this a little bit last week in regard to how items get placed on the agenda, and frankly, I'm not absolutely positive that language here is correct, that it is a county policy. I don't know that it's county policy, but I do know it's been a standing practice of the county for many, many years. And so if the fact that it's a county practice and not a formal policy, if we need to adopt a policy for every action, I think that we are going to spend a lot of time adopting policies for things that we all can agree on. The county policy has been for elected officials to talk with the auditor's office prior to noon, barring an emergency situation. When we discussed last week the open meetings law and the requirements of the open meetings law, the requirement that we have is to post our agenda 24 hours in advance of our meeting. There is no such code requirement for when we gather that information or when we set policy to cut off an agenda. If somebody requests after that, that doesn't mean that we won't get them on the agenda. It just won't be for that coming Tuesday. So
Then, 3.5 days before the meeting, that cutoff. And did I understand right, it used to be that if people contacted over the weekend or emailed, they could get on?
well, that was according to the former auditor who 12 years ago retired.
Yeah.
They did, but in the last 12 years, we've not done that.
It'd just be an awful easy way to be more accessible. And the agenda is going to be done preliminary on Friday anyway.
The hard part in our office for that is, we're not in here on Saturdays and Sundays. So, and then even when we come back in on Monday, we have a half an hour to catch anything that potentially could come in over the weekend, which, I mean, all of us in our office, I mean, I can run 200 emails over the weekend. So to get through and make sure we don't miss anything is a concern of mine, just because I would hate to have 3 people send something in and get 2 of them and miss a third one, you know what I mean? Because that would show. So ever since I have been auditor, we've always tried to comply with the, and most department heads have too, tried to comply with the 12. Now, of course, if there's something major or something, an emergency situation, we've always tried to accommodate that or help someone. But just from the standard practice of the fact we're closed on Saturdays and Sundays, really for something to come in over the weekend is.
It's just the Tuesday morning meeting makes it pretty unhandy for getting on, because it's the 24-hour thing we have to abide by. It does cause a giant gap in time, half a week's worth. With the new email that's set up to send things to us, and the email that's been in place, not sending it specifically to you, but to the auditor's office, Christy said, but she would see it right away. It's not going to be very many things, but as they come in, even to tack them to the end, if you made it 8 o'clock or whatever, so you have 30 minutes, just a couple things to come in, just add them on. It'd be a nice service, even if a little bit inconvenient. It would make it more, a lot of things are time sensitive. Time another week goes by, it kind of loses what's happening. Everything's moving so fast.
Well, I think we do have that ability now. The chairman can put something on if he deems that it's emergent. You know, and if it is emergent, we can do that. If it's not emergent, something doesn't have to be done until the next Tuesday. Government moves pretty slowly, and
We work for the taxpayer, and if they want something on, really, we're here to listen, not to decide if it's important or not, or emergent or not.
I would agree with you, Jacob, if we weren't accessible, but our phone lines are accessible, our emails are accessible, and if somebody emails or calls you on a Saturday, all you have to do is call Chuck and say, hey, is this something we need to get on the agenda? And he can call immediately to Melissa, and if it's an emergency situation, or if it's something that can be, that's not emergency, then it can still be put on for the next week. You know, I think if we make it, I don't know, I don't like to make it too time constraining to the fact that we could overlook somebody, or an email comes in that doesn't get spotted, and then they're angry. I personally, I've been a board member for 3.5 years, and it's worked fine. You know, I get up in the morning, first thing on Monday morning, I look to see what we've got sent. So I've got 24 hours to do a lot of research, and that's, being a supervisor, that's what you end up having to do a lot of times, a lot of research. So, you know,
I don't see the problem as maybe creating a giant problem or a rift. If somebody honestly missed something, they honestly missed it. But it's been done apparently, according to Judy. You know, before my time here, it was done that way. So I just think it makes it more accessible, and more, when you're working on anything, it's nice to get it done and put it away, get it done and put it away. Just check it off, not put it off. And if it can be, I think we should. And on our evening meetings, Monday morning wouldn't be a problem at all in those weeks, because
that gives us a little bit more time.
Yeah, gives us more time.
Yes.
You know, if we met on Thursdays, it would make easier time. It's just that Tuesday morning at 8:30 thing makes a long, I've dealt with that before as supervisor. It's hard to judge if something happens on Friday at 1 that needs to be on the agenda. You really have a long span. You have basically 3.5 days after the Tuesday meeting to get on for the next Tuesday. It's just kind of, it's a constraint. It is a hindrance in a way.
I'd be interested in knowing how many items that were requested Friday afternoon that did not get on the agenda created a hardship for anybody.
Well, and I'd also know how many it was. Probably not very many. So therefore, it doesn't cause a very big problem in that way either. It's just being more accessible, and it's been proven to work before, and this has worked also. But that is a more accessible option. That's all my point is.
Well, in all due respect, each elected official has the opportunity to run his or her office the way that they feel is best. And what works for one doesn't sometimes always work for the other.
And things change.
And things do change.
Yeah. So
To your point on, yes, Tuesday morning seems like an awkward time, but if you survey most of the county boards of supervisors in Iowa, they meet Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and as a result, ISAC state meetings, things at the Capitol are more accessible, people aren't, working. So yeah, it is an awkward time, but when, 8:30 on Tuesday morning is awkward.
And I didn't do a poll to see the other counties around us if they have a noon cutoff. I actually didn't call.
Yeah, I don't know. And frankly, I don't care.
I'm just saying if you're
What
talking
works
about-
for them may not work for us.
Right, I didn't even look into that, but
And when I did reach out to some others do have the 12 p.m. cutoff. And actually, when I spoke with legal counsel about it, she said that that's a fairly common practice to have that. But also too, this wasn't, I know Judy had stated this wasn't something her office had done, but it wasn't something we started when I started. So there was at some point, something that where the 12 p.m. came in, because it wasn't something when I started, we just set in place. It was prior to my arrival, but that was already kind of a common, I don't know if you'd say practice or not a policy, but a common practice to follow.
I just ran for this job, trying to make it easier for people to get into a meeting and say what they need to say. And so I think it'd be okay to go to 8 o'clock on Monday morning.
And two, with
And
that,
even if you
because at
email
8
that,
a.m., like, I'm gonna have to adjust my staff if we go to an 8 a.m. because my stuff doesn't arrive until 8 a.m. on a Monday.
Let's-
So,
Who doesn't really know, right?
so you're
Well,
also running that risk too, that, we're gonna start having to adjust, which also too, we have a lot of times where that's when we have payroll and claims coming in too. So, it's something just to consider too, is it's not just always that those are the only things, we're not just sitting there waiting for emails. I mean, like, Kim's been working on payroll the last since Friday, and, claims are coming in currently right now. So, there's other things going on in my office too that impact
right.
what
And
my staff is working on at the time.
I understand that. And this agenda right here is a forum agenda. We have basically the same one with the things added. To add something to the end, I mean, I would guess an item or two could probably take less than, what would be your estimate to take to add an item to agenda from an email? How much time would that take?
Would you like to make a motion to move it to 8 o'clock on Monday morning? Because I think we're not going to get anywhere discussing what works,
I don't want to be-
workflow in her office and what your anticipation workflow may work in her office. I mean, she's told you, Jacob, that she's concerned about the staffing and missing something in an email. She's made that point that if we make it until 8 o'clock and they happen to miss something, and then they're held accountable for missing something when maybe it's beyond their control, maybe there's a failure on email, maybe they've got
Yeah,
a.
honest mistake, it's not saying that's fine. I don't think that couldn't happen. But I'm just saying it's not that difficult. I think it'd be a nice thing to do, and that's what
I'll make a motion to, if Jacob's not going to make a motion to move it to 8, I'll make a motion to continue the policy as we are doing it now with 12 p.m. Friday cutoff for agenda items.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 I'd like to vote no on that.
You vote no, nay over here?
Nay.
All opposed? Nay.
No, and for the record, I vote no on the policy of a noon Friday deadline to have items added to the agenda. While this may be convenient, I believe returning to Monday deadline is doable and provides the best possible service to taxpayers, which is the sole reason we are here.
Okay, 9:10, John Schwab, we're running a minute late. I can stay up there.
Yeah, good. Reason we came in here is because to get some donation money, anything that we get from the parks for donations, to be put into that trust account that we talked about last year. I met with my board, kind of sat around and talked with Charlie. The crop money we had talked about, we get that early enough in the fiscal. It's really easy for us to kind of budget that in to where it comes up with an amendment. The problem we have is with donations, even just this calendar year, so in 3.5 months, we're up to about $800 in donations. We're expecting another big donation next month too. And after looking at the trust fund, or our trust item line, the supervisors control what goes in there and then what comes out of there. So what we're asking is if those donations, instead of getting amended back into the park line item at the end of every year, if we can amend that and put it in the trust so we could save the donation.
In your search of getting ready for today, with regard to the supervisors amending those donations, has there been a case where donations come in and the supervisors have denied the amendment of those donations? I mean, have we restricted those funds as they were intended in any way or shape or form?
Not that I've found, and I've just talked with other directors, not other boards of supervisors, and they haven't had any issues with it.
Okay. So how are we accounting for those small, because as I remember, this conversation started out at Pierce Creek Watershed on that tour. And as I remember, your concern was a lot of times for the smaller donations that get lumped in and don't really get purposed the way that they maybe please the donor. Kind of walk me back through that conversation, because that's been weeks ago.
Yeah, basically what the issue was with the smaller donations is like what we are doing now is when we amend like the crop money and everything at the end of the year, those donations would just go right back into the line item. Well, then we'd only have about a month and a half to basically spend that money before whatever was left would go into the general fund. And that was our fear, is that, you know, people are making donations to the parks and then basically that money's disappearing at the end of the year. And this is just a way to where we can kind of reassure them that, hey, your donations, like, they are going to go to RAP or use for this project. It just might take a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. Any issues from state auditing rules on this?
So for clarification, you want to put them in the 68,000 then?
Yes.
Okay, the only thing I can see with that is by code, that's a restricted fund. So you're only going to be allowed to spend that on specific things. So if at any point in time you want to take that and spend that on something in the parks that isn't for that, then you're not going to be allowed to do that at that point.
Right.
Because I think that only goes for equipment, like certain specific repairs and things like that. So that's just something for you guys to keep in mind, that it's not a problem to move it or shift it, but if at any point then you put it in there and then you say, oh, we don't want this, like we can't move it back to the general fund at any point in time.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something to.
So if I guess my question is, if somebody gives them, let's say, $5,000 to go toward another canopy type facility.
Like a shelter.
A shelter, they put it in the restricted fund, and then when they're ready to build that structure, then they can pull it out for that, correct?
I believe so. I have to go to the quote. I know there's certain, I mean, when you hit a restricted fund, it's much more, I mean, restrictive of course.
Right.
But then too, I mean, once that money goes in there, it can't come out unless it's for those specific, it meets that specific criteria.
Right.
Could there not be an account set up for people to give donations to certain parks, for each park or something? Could we not?
No, right now it's just any donations that come in.
It goes in the general.
We get it amended, back in the line item, but then.
There's specific line items right now they do go into.
Yeah.
And Charlie keeps track of those.
Yeah.
So there are already specific line items in the general fund.
If people could see something they were saving towards on this, they might donate more. If they could see, we need 10,000 to build this shelter and somebody gives 5, they might.
Right.
It might spur donations even, if they see what they're buying, what they're donating.
Right, yeah. Because like another thing we brought it up is, we get a lot of memorial monies where like people donate, for memorial grant to, hey, we want, a permanent fishing pier. Well, then that's when we're looking at the trust, well, we can keep building it there.
Is there any, and I get that, is there any risk if, let's say, using your canopy shelter as an example, you take a $5,000 donation and now for some reason that shelter doesn't get built or it's funded somewhere else and you don't use all those funds, what happens to those funds? How do you access those funds? If the project doesn't occur or gets totally funded, I guess that would be my only concern.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know, I mean.
From listening, from
Once
what.
they go in there, I mean, you're putting them, you can't pull those out at any point to move them back into the general fund because it's a restricted fund. So when you're putting them in there, I mean, that's why I'm just telling you guys to make sure that you consider all issues that, and two, I think there's specific, I haven't read the code section for a while, but there are specific allowable repairs and expenses. And then if they don't qualify under that, you cannot spend that money, or else it's gonna fall back, and when we get audited, then the general fund will have to repay for those.
So this is probably an unusual, not gonna happen circumstance, but I think it draws attention to the need probably to have a little more dialogue and study on the code, just to make sure that when your board, we allow you to do that, you guys don't get stuck on having something that, in that scenario, which probably would never happen, but as you change boards over the years, they see that fund, they have another project, well, no, you can't use it. And I don't know, I just,
If it goes in the general and then you don't use it, does it come back to the whole county? It doesn't stay there, or does
It
it
doesn't
stay?
stay with us.
So it comes back to the whole
The general.
whole county in general. So how do you get that back to use in the future? It just comes back, I mean, is it allocated the next year we return that
Right now, how Charlie does it is Charlie keeps track of
of
revenue
the donations?
of the donations in a specific account, line item. And then each year when she does an amendment, she amends for the revenues that come in, and then they expense it out. So like this
They
for
get it
Rat
back.
Park, she says the revenues came in for Rat Park. These are going to be expended then for Rat Park.
Basically, though, what you're looking at is more of a savings. More where you can put it and let it set for 2 or 3 years or 5 years, so well.
And get more donations.
Right.
Because a lot of the projects you were talking about cost a lot more than one donation. They want to save up to a bigger one. Or like Pioneer Park Lake out there, or the pond, I mean.
Or even the smaller ones, because one we got in the works right now is getting walleye stocked out at RAP. The only way we could do it after we cleared it with DNR was to get private individuals, they have to buy the fish, and then we can stock it. And yeah, that's just expense for, we'd love to do it, but we're gonna need donations to get it.
Right.
That would be-
And this, using that 68,000 number, is that what all the other counties around us are doing for projects like this?
Yes, they basically use it as a savings account for capital projects. I know when I talked to one director, the only stipulation he was aware of was that you couldn't use it for like payroll or administration costs, stuff like that. It was all for big projects.
but it was his understanding it could be used across the platform for various projects. If it was designated for a certain project, it could be, his understanding was it could be used for a different project?
No, it would just be for capital, like when they get a donation, basically the same idea we had was like, okay, it's gonna go to Rat Park to this donation, and then they keep track of it, and then it kind of goes from there. And I do know the one big safety catch was like using money out of that account, the Board of Supervisors has to approve any withdrawals that come out of that account too. Like as far as I think I know, from our research, like we couldn't put in a claim and say, hey, you paid it out of the trust account. It would actually have, you guys would have to.
Oh, okay. It does.
I like the idea of a savings account. I don't know all the legal parameters of it.
Well, I know how hard our board, conservation board works, and I know that projects are always expensive, and if this helps you reach goals, I don't see a problem with it, just so long as we have a clear understanding and your board has some education when board members change, so that it's clear that those are restricted funds for those purposes. And then, good communication would have, if we discover in Iowa code something that is further restrictive, that we have a conversation so that we're all on the same page, we don't get in any trouble. I think, again, you guys have done a good job, and are working hard to really improve the treasures of Page County, and we appreciate that. So I would entertain a motion to approve this, or
Are you finding anything there, Melissa?
And I was saying, if we want to, we can wait, we can, like I can work with the auditor's
I
office.
just was trying to read to make sure there was nowhere, I just wanted to make sure it
Oh,
wasn't.
no,
getting,
absolutely, yeah.
Like you couldn't, I wanted to make, and I haven't found it yet, but I just was trying to make sure there was no specific.
Which other counties have you talked to?
Harrison is the main one I talked
Okay,
to,
okay.
Scott up there, he's been the
Okay.
director for
Right. Okay.
gosh, forever, and they've got,
Okay.
they kind of do, that was the whole thing we based the original proposal off of, was what they do.
Well, would there be more comfort if we do a code study and reconvene on this topic and table it for 1 week, or are we ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we, how do I word that? We allow the Conservation Department to have a trust fund, is a specific name trust fund or what?
just conservation trust account.
Conservation trust account. Reserve fund trust account.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, reserve fund trust account. So we have a motion by Holmes, second by Armstrong. Is there any other discussion?
Just make sure that you guys communicate well with all of us if you can, as you need to. So,
And I don't know what kind of orientation you go through with new board members, but if you do anything formalized, I would make sure that some rudimentary explanation of restricted funding is put into that orientation packet.
how are you going to advertise, not before we vote, how are you going to advertise like the walleye buy and all that for private donations? How will you advertise to people that you need donations?
We'll put in we start our quarterly newsletter again, so we'll be in that. We've got a social media page, Facebook page, we'll do that. Then it might get to the point, a lot of it's through word of mouth, and people are kind of lined up already that they're
And then
go for the project. So.
you'll have the checks made out to Page County Conservation Board.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. One other question, when are you opening parks up? I know you haven't heard that.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna get that question. We are in the process right now. We've got tentatively the water out in a couple parks right now. That's mostly just to check for leaks and everything. I'm hoping if the weather stays good, by April 1st, April 2nd, we'll have the water out in all the parks. So we can go.
So what,
Super.
so on the, like RV Parks app, all the people who RV have a lot of different apps that link to the various campgrounds. In those advertisements, what's our listed open and close time? Do you know? Is it a May 1st open time?
Normally, for like official camping season, a lot of them do say May 1st. They'll say like May 1st to October. I know a lot of the different apps, it kind of varies. But yeah, pretty much we tell people by, usually by mid-April, beginning of mid-April is when we really try.
Okay, okay. Because I was just gonna look you up at Raft Park, for example. And see what the ad says.
Kind of like on our county conservation page, it pretty much it says weather depending, then we get a hold of them when we open it up and they throw the date on there.
Okay, Raft Park, here's on the camp and RV. Oh, no, it does say April through October on yours. Okay, great. And I don't know how much control these people curate that information from a variety of sources.
Yeah, I have no idea where they get it from.
Okay,
That's pretty accurate, so.
okay, very good.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you, John. All right, we're to the public comment
Yeah,
portion.
these ladies over here have a.
Oh, have public comment? Okay, come on up, please, and state your name.
Good morning, my name is Deb Coulter.
Deb Holter?
Coulter.
Coulter, okay, thanks, Deb.
I am a council person for the city of Point
Okay,
and was wondering if somebody could speak to the code regarding the COVID-19 relief fund. If any of those funds will be allocated to smaller cities such as Point.
okay. You know, we have assigned a committee of our elected officials on the county dollars. It's also my understanding that the Iowa Municipal League has a formula for which, because there are some additional dollars that will come directly to COIN. And I don't know, they've been a little slower in getting their estimates out than what NACO did for counties. It's my understanding, City of Clarinda is 740,000, City of Shenandoah is about 600,000. I haven't seen any of the numbers for Coin, College Springs, but there are some dollars there.
So you're
I
saying
wonder if we
it's
could-
separate from
Yes.
the COVID-19?
Yes.
For the county.
From the county dollars, yes, they are strictly to municipalities coming through this, this relief bill that the president signed a couple weeks ago. And I don't know, Gary McLaurin or AJ and Shan might be a good
formula. There might be, maybe.
they may know the formula or have a contact with the Iowa Municipal League. They would have it's based on, I think, based on the population, like ours is based on a population. And the reason the disparity in Shan and Clarinda is because the prison population is added to the Clarinda portion, as I understand it. So I don't know, there'll be some dollars there. Why don't you find that out and see where those are at? If you still have some shortfalls, if our communities have shortfalls, I would send a note to our committee. You can send it to the supervisors, we'll pass it on to our elected committee that is looking at how funds can be spent. We're still reading rules. I know we've had some requests that were non-essential that I don't think rules would allow for, but infrastructure is allowed. It's fairly broad. And our committee has been tasked to come back on April 13th, I believe, with a report. We're supposed to get half of our half of our allocation in June, the first half. So we're asking our electeds to kind of look at the big picture, make some recommendations to us, and if you wanted to send an additional request, but I'd find out what your dollar amount's going to be first.
When is the committee meeting to discuss before they bring the suggestion?
We're gonna talk today a little bit and
Get that on the calendar somewhere.
And Deb, I have a number for Iowa Vega City, if you want to contact
Oh,
them.
perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you, good luck. And when you find out, let us know. I'd be curious as to
Okay,
what
absolutely.
you guys
Yeah,
get.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So on our elected committee, by the way, representing supervisors is Alan Armstrong, and then our 5 elected officials, sheriff, treasurer, recorder, auditor, and county attorney. And then they'll bring that recommendation back to us.
Right.
Okay, did you have, Marie, anything? You're together, okay. Well, good, well, she was a good cheerleader today.
I apologize. I should have asked you what you needed before. I could have maybe have answered and saved you a few minutes of sitting. Okay.
Great. Any other public comment? Okay.
Chuck, I have something.
Oh, hold on, Judy. We have a person here, Miss Grossman. What's your first name?
Whitney.
Whitney,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Good morning. I just come up here today because I have a concern and I just have a few questions.
Okay,
Last night I attended the Republican quarterly meeting where your letter was read of your resignation from the Republican Party.
yes.
And I just had a few questions about that. You stated a few times that you were concerned about the radical rights. I am just wondering, what is your definition of radical rights?
You know, that letter was sent to the Republican Party, so, you know, this is a deep discussion, and, you know, I frankly don't want to go into it here. I made a choice that I no longer believe that the Republican Party represents how I feel. When I was accosted by people for supporting a Democrat who I know and like, was told that I can't do that, and I have always in my life voted for Republicans, but when I'm told that I can't vote for an individual, that's offensive to me.
And I understand. One other question I have, if you've been concerned for a couple of years about this, why did you wait until after you won the election to resign? I'm just.
I voted for Donald Trump in November, and in January 6th, that was all I needed. Okay?
Why are the ideals of a few reason to back out of the party as a whole?
It was personal choice.
I understand. I think that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Judy, you had a comment?
I just wanted to do a clarification and you don't need to discuss it. I retired 10 years ago this month, not 12, Chuck. And up until the point I retired, there was no policy to not put anything on the agenda after Friday noon. And that's just a point of clarification. You don't need to do anything with it, but I just wanted to make clear that there was no policy 10 years ago when I retired to stop putting things on the agenda at noon on Friday.
Thank you. And I don't think there's a policy now, but it's a standing practice. All right. Any other comments?
I just have a quick clarification. In last week's, just kind of like Judy, last week's meeting, I stated as part of it that I'd called in to be on the agenda and was told repeatedly I did not call, and I just want to make sure I back up that I did call, and I have proof here that I did. Okay. And I even had an email, I'll pass this out, you can look at it on, an email confirming that I emailed, and I emailed at 12:09, that's what Alan. Just let me know that I did call. I don't, I want to make that clear. I did not try to mislead anybody by saying I called when I didn't call. Here's the proof. Okay. That's just a clarification on that. That's all I have.
Good. Any other comments?
Yeah, this is Ryan Yurkowski. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ryan? Yep.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to back Jacob up on making people accessible. A half hour on Monday morning, I don't think is a large task to ask the auditor or someone in her office to check an email to see if someone from the public wanted to be on the agenda. Like there's very few times that there's even somebody from the public that wants to get on the agenda. So the few times that someone does want to get on the agenda, like Jacob said, we're doing this, you guys are supposed to be doing this as a service to the public, and then making your guys not accessible within 30 minutes to respond to an email or get someone on the agenda, I think is very, very doable. I also wanted to comment, you guys approved the 4% increase in pay. Ellen's comment was he's just selfish. He guessed he's selfish is why he wants a 4% increase. And he felt that if we either lowered the pay or didn't keep it where it was at, that we wouldn't get qualified candidates on the Board of Supervisors. Well, the Board of Supervisors it should be, like Jacob said, a service to the county, not a full-time job relying on pay. And I disagree 100% with you, Ellen, because if we make it a service and not about the pay, that's how we get qualified citizens on the Board of Supervisors, because they're there to do it as a service to their county, not as a job for the pay, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Nope, we need approved minutes.
Oh, yes, thank you. All right, we do have the minutes from last time.
No, I've got a few amendments there.
Can you, Jacob has requested, I mean, that's fine, go short. If you can electronically send it out, then that way it's easier for us to follow. Okay. If you take the electronic version that you got on Wednesday, mark it up, and then we can all follow along. Okay. Because if we're approving or disapproving them, I'd like to know.
Okay, so we can take your time here. Okay. I finished it up this morning. Okay, I just put it in red there. I got what's there on the, this is a very tiny little thing, just doesn't matter that much, but on the first page, third paragraph, it just says Page County is doing much better. I did away with the A. That's all it was, just a small little thing. On the second page, the paragraph about the jail discussion, all I did was, or what I did was, at the end of where it says design and construction, I didn't change anything that was written. I just I think it was a pretty important part of the discussion that wasn't admitted. I'll read what I said. Holmes asked if upon paying for the plans for the new center, Page County would own the plans. This led to conversation between Holmes and the representative on whether tax dollars could be saved by purchasing and making minor adjustments to neighbor counties' plans. That was just a part of the discussion.
Where's that at?
I'm sorry.
He added that.
Just added this right here.
Second
Just
paragraph.
added, I didn't change anything that was there. I just added the part about me asking if we own them and then if we could buy the neighboring county's plans and edit them.
Okay.
That is that, and then I changed, right after that, it says Jacob Holmes during public comment said he would like I added the word preliminary agenda instead of agenda. The very next paragraph.
Very next paragraph.
First line of that next
Oh,
paragraph.
okay. Preliminary.
Would like the preliminary, you see that?
Okay, yeah, I got it.
That's all I changed there.
Okay.
If you go down, and let's just keep on going right where you were, preliminary agenda, go on down to right after it lists all the resolutions. Sorry, after it lists all the resolutions in order. It says agenda for Tuesday to be rescinded, period. Do you see that spot?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it says he stated he requested to have budget resolutions 16, 17, and 18. Do you see that?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, and then it is hard to find on there. Yeah, placed on the agenda for Tuesday to be rescinded. What I did there was the next sentence, I crossed out and replaced with, I'll just go ahead and read it. He stated when he voted to approve these resolutions, he thought they were for a budget amendment and not the 4% salary increase. I replaced it with, he stated his vote to approve this motion was based on incorrect information given when asked for clarification prior to vote, period. So all I did was replace that with that, and I have on YouTube that interaction and the interaction from the budget hearing when I asked, I basically said, what is this? And both of you stopped me before I even finished and said, this is a budget amendment. And both of you said it. That's what I said in that meeting. I just think that clears that up better.
I think what that does, Jacob, quite frankly, is it takes all the responsibility off you to read the resolution.
Responsibility to read the resolution.
Yeah.
I should, well, no.
That statement basically says it's our fault that you didn't read the resolution.
No, it doesn't. It just says that I was based on that, which I said in the meeting. The minutes are a reflection of what is said in the meeting, just a record, all it is. And I can play the video of it. We can watch it if you want. I've got it pulled up here. I should have read the resolution.
Okay.
I said that also.
And
I'm fine with leaving that too. It was a combination. It wasn't just, I didn't.
But are you
I
asking
assumed it
to
was
take
amendment.
out?
I was told it.
Are you asking to take out that one sentence and replacing it with?
Well, I guess, it just doesn't make sense by the way he said, he thought they were for a budget amendment as, I never used the word amendment in the budget discussion. You guys use the word amendment, and I should have read it, so I agree with that, and I did say that also. So, yeah, look at that, you wanna,
okay, yeah.
think of a way to clean that up better, I'm open to that, but both things did happen. Because the word, I didn't even feed the word amendment to you, it was said amendment. I just want to reflect all sides of it, not just one side.
Oh, did you want to see that?
I got it. I listened.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we had a miscommunication. I think.
I don't think it was done out of any reason, I'll put that on the record, to trick me. I don't think, I think
No.
we were saying amendment, right? Maybe, I don't know why, it's just, anyway, what's the last thing? The next spot is down, if you go down in that paragraph, let's see, I don't have to tell you. She stated after sending an email to Holmes explaining the situation with the county attorney, she did not hear back from Holmes. And then the line that I think should be changed, the next sentence, are you there? You see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Holmes stated when a supervisor requests an item to be placed on the agenda, he feels it should be put on regardless of the timing. said there was Holmes requested all supervisors be subject to the same deadlines to have items added to the agenda, which is what I said. I just, that's why I went in to ask me about Tom Wagner's request, and I went the whole thing. I just think, I wanted to say, shouldn't we all have the same deadline? That was my question. It wasn't that I should, regardless of timing for me, I want the same treatment, is what I was trying to put forth. Then you brought forth that the chair gets to decide, but so my change there is due to regardless of timing. He stated when a supervisor requests an item to be placed on the agenda, he feels it should be put on regardless of timing.
Well,
Which kind of says the same thing in a way. Holmes requests that all supervisors be subject to the same deadline to have items added to the agenda, meaning, but timing does matter up until 8 o'clock. We can't go past that.
Yeah.
So I was trying to clear that up. It kind of says the same thing in a way.
I think it does.
I do think though that for the discussion about what time, if there needed to be a cutoff or if there didn't need to be a cutoff, because I think there was thoughts that some of you had different cutoffs and.
Well, and there was discussion on that, and that's what we talked about, the email thread I read, and it showed Sunday was fine, and so that was, I believed I should have the same access, and I was trying to put that forth, no matter what the rule is, I was trying to ask that, say, I believe that is the way it should be, whether it be policy or not, or legal.
well, I mean, Jacob, based on the tone of the discussion last week, I personally believe that the record as it's presented in a draft form accurately describes what was stated. That when because what I heard you say was when a supervisor requests an item to be placed on the agenda, he feels it should be put on the agenda regardless of timing. And you'd made a point that I'm the supervisor. I think the quote was, I'm the supervisor, I ought to be able to put something on the agenda whenever I want. Is what I'd have to listen
I'd have to watch the video. I don't remember that exact quote on that, but it was, I just asked, because I saw that I knew from the past and that you could edit things as you went or add them later. And I was trying to figure out, I believe that any of us should be, I think the public should be able to do it too. I was trying to find clarification there, and I do believe, and I did say that I believe that we all should, all of us, not just me, any of us should be able to do that. It's cohesive to doing.
So let me see the suggested edit, please. Let me see that suggested edit. Are you fine with it?
Yeah. I think if anybody needs clarification, the video, the soundtracks are available.
Yeah.
Everybody can listen and hear what was said and get every word.
Yeah.
Do you want me to make all the changes, or do you want to go through each one and tell me if you want to make? I just think
On several of these, if we need to, if we're gonna have discussion about, I would like to, I'll play that I have all the clips, the seconds we can play them and let it be official when I'm saying that I'm not changing it. I have one more, if you want to look at it real quick, then I'm done. The very, very end.
Okay. Let me make a statement about clips. Are you looking at clips now? Are you gonna play a clip?
I could, if you want to talk about specific
You're looking
ones.
at your phone, maybe.
Oh, my phone was vibrating, sorry.
The thing about clips and being an old radio guy, emphasis on old, you can make those, you can.
Well, I don't mind to watch long periods before and after too, that's fine with me. I would be just fine with that. I'm not trying to make it, I have to use that to.
So I guess my question is, when are we gonna get beyond a gotcha moment?
Well, I'm not going for gotcha here, I'm going for sheer just, I believe accuracy in this.
I'm gonna ask you in public meeting, is that really your intent, Jake? I mean,
why, what would it
gain
me?
2 weeks ago, we had a miscommunication. You didn't do your research, so part's on us, part's on you. Whether you voted yay or nay on the resolution was gonna pass 2-1. It's a done deal.
I came in,
move on.
Well, I came in last week to ask questions to try to solve problems and learn, and that's all I wanted. And I did get answers to questions that did help me.
Okay.
And I think we did make some improvements. And I don't know what gotcha has to do with that. I think having this preliminary.
Video clips or gotcha clips.
Well, no, I just want to do that to make sure I'm not misleading you in this, is all that. I don't want to play it if you don't want me to. I just want to make sure I'm not misleading in the minutes. I'm not trying to trick you into voting to amend the minutes that I'm falsely changing. Or even if I'm not trying to trick you, I'm not trying to gloss over. I want it just to be accurate with what I'm saying. And if I thought you were changing them, I didn't agree, I might go back and ask her to look at it. So I can understand you asking me that. So that's fine. And I'm not after, I just want this is the permanent record. And I just want it to be, you read it from your point of view of being in a meeting also. I mean, and you guys can come and tell me what you think if it isn't full enough, or I'm fine with that.
Well, can we agree on this? That yes, it is permanent record, and yes, it needs to be accurate. I think we agree on that.
Yes, I definitely think we agree on that.
But I do think that perspective of the reader, we're never, you and I can read the same sentence, and take it two different ways.
Right, and so I have to read it as somebody who's gonna go on the record forever with me saying these things or doing these things, so that's why I'm going over them, and I'm open to you telling me what you remember too, or going to the record, the video record or whatever. The last statement I had was, at the very end of the very last thing here, it says Auditor Wellhausen stated if he has questions or needs anything, he can always reach out to her. I said, after she said that, I just think this finishes the statement. Upon learning that, all information must be requested in order to receive it. Holmes requested that all documents are to be voted on be sent to him prior to meeting from this point forward, which she told me that, and I said, well, then I would like to make that request. I just think that finishes it like I didn't respond to her. I did. I would like to have that. I learned it, and I would like to have it. That is, the only other thing I had was at the very end, beyond that, I just added, the board moved to approve the amended minutes. It just says amendments. Minutes. They were amended. And that's it.
So what's that last one, though?
Okay, I'll go over it.
About it, can I see it?
You can just look at it.
Yeah, if I may.
I just added to read her statement, and I have that interaction too, where she's offered her help, and I said, well, then I would like, or offered documents. And I made a request to have those documents then now that I learned that.
Okay.
I guess my only concern on that, Jacob, if somebody in that office fails to send something and you're upset about that, that's kind of unfair.
I understand that, but I was told I had to ask. So.
Yes, and you can ask today, but what's going to happen in 2 years when they've forgotten that ask was necessary and they assume that you might not?
Well,
you know, I think it boils back to you still need to ask. It's our responsibility as supervisors to be leaders, not receivers on this. And I don't want to confuse a thing, but it's still my job, if I have a question, to ask daily. I don't want her to send me everything every day because a lot of it I don't need.
I was pretty specific, just saying, even in this, I just be voted on, which would be a resolution. I didn't go everything in the world. I would like to have anything that they remember or send out. If it goes to anybody, I'd like to get it also. But this is also just reflecting an interaction, is all this is. I did ask for that, whether it be right or wrong, I did ask for it. And that's all. It finishes the statement. Okay.
My only concern with that statement is you requested that all documents that are to be voted on be sent to you prior.
Mm-hmm.
In our office, we don't always get everything. So like if another department head comes in with a request, we don't always receive all of their information. So by putting that on us, I mean, like, I need you to understand too, that's not.
And so I would disagree with that one.
The best we can do.
I disagree. I think, Jacob, when you get your agenda, the preliminary, the next one, I think if you have anything, then ask at that time. I think that's the safest way for everybody. It protects somebody from failure.
Right. And I
think
if I didn't have anything,
I would not vote to second the minutes with that in there.
But the thing is, that was an interaction that happened in the meeting.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
So that's
was.
all the minutes are. It's not
Yeah,
saying
right,
it's right or wrong.
it's not a
No.
statement that this is how it's gonna be.
No,
Yeah, it
it's just we
reflects
have
what
this
we're saying.
interaction that finishes the conversation.
Right.
No action was taken on that, but
Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah, and it is tough. I mean, the easiest, and maybe, I don't know, to each his own, but if I have a question or you have a question, you should call. The thing you gotta be careful about is all of our offices are busy, and there are different times of the year when they're extremely busy. And so if it's an unwise use of county resources to have them send you everything if it's not required. So you really need to tell them, hey, here's what, because here's the deal. Next year, when Angie brings up the depository resolution, you know, you have faith in our treasurer that she's gonna, A, do it correctly, make sure that we're protected. And did you read the resolution? Was there anything that in that resolution that's going forward that would ever concern you on a depository? So as an example,
I asked though, just for anything that's sent to you or Alan, just be sent to me was the main thing, which is
It
common
is.
sense. And they have that, now that three-way email, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
right.
That was my whole point, not to get special
Right.
things. If it's definitely sent to one of us, it should just be sent to all of us.
Okay.
No matter what our interest is,
The
everything.
way it is.
So,
Well, I guess just to make sure, like there is a board of supervisors email. Are you not getting those?
well, yes, I get those. Last week, there was things with that might get sent to Chuck as a chair and all this stuff. I would like to see it also, or Alan. That was what we discussed.
I really
Okay,
try
make
hard.
sure
If
you're
it's,
getting them.
and well, if people would just, and like the preliminary agenda is gonna go now instead to you, it's gonna go to all three of us. It's just an
does.
email ad of an address, so that was my whole point, to simplify and make things a little better, just a little operational.
So
I'm
my-
trying to send you like on the road situation, anytime I get a road thing, it's directed to me. I
Right.
send it out to you.
Yeah, if I get something, I try to send it to
And
everybody.
that's-
Yeah, share
That's
it.
good. If it comes in, when it goes out, I just wanted it to go to that email, so it all just goes at once.
And I won't say I've never missed one, because I have. I mean, you get as many emails
Well,
as we get, sometimes you miss
it's a
them.
lot to keep up on, and there is human error. I'm just trying to make better operation if I see something that could improve it.
So I guess for clarification, if this remains in the minutes, his new statement, it does state that my office is to provide all documents that are to be voted
That
on.
is his wish.
I requested,
His request.
Yeah.
it isn't, we didn't vote
Doesn't
on
mean
it.
you have to do it.
So I just want to be clear that, there are some things my office does not receive. So, we always try to share everything we can, but if it's something that comes through that we don't, and I think with we've set up the new email, so everything that comes into our office for agenda items also goes to all three of you. But I just wanted to make that clear that
And I think
there are certain things we just don't receive.
910's agenda item is a good example of something that would have come only to us. John, did you send that to the auditor? You sent it to the supervisors, didn't you? Or did you
No,
just
I
send
just
it?
sent the request, but I didn't send the information. I sent it that, agenda.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, moving forward, we can continue to do our best to get everybody what they need, when they need it. That's always our goal, not to be contrary, but we do need to, I think, if we ask our elected officials if they want something on the agenda, they need to know what the rules are. Whatever those standing rules are, we need to understand them and abide them, because we're supervisors, but we are no better than any of our electeds, no better than anybody. Okay, take a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Move, approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. As amended, or
As
as,
amended.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion, and a second. Do you have everything you need, Melissa? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, now, ready for that adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.